Hey, good morning, folks. Troy Dooley, the Beachside CEO, and we are having a blast today again at Maple Street. Let me say, I cannot thank Maple Street Biscuit Company enough for allowing us to do the podcast here and for being one of our major sponsors in this deal. Anytime you've got entrepreneurs that are rolling, and when you study Scott and Gus, you literally see what they've created here. It's amazing. And this time of year, especially, the stuff that they have going on, the fact that they celebrated. I mean, one of the things they celebrated was the sale of Maple Street to Cracker Barrel restaurants. That was an amazing feat. 7 years. And this company was able to bring in a partner that saw what their successes have been, saw what they're doing, and said, look, we want to celebrate this together. It's going to be a great time. It's a great time of the year for us to be thankful, great time of the year for us to be celebrating. Also, as you guys know, my shout out to Freddie Sheets over at Allen's Cooling. Freddie's running a contest right now. If you want to be able to get a full day's worth of tattoo. Now listen, I just spent a half a day with Freddie. It was about 7 hours, I believe, as he was working on this new sleeve right here. So if you want the opportunity to get a full day with one of the Emerald Coast's best tattoo artists, then hey, go over to hit Freddie Sheets over at Facebook. $100 you can get in the drawing for a full day, guys. This is literally priceless. You want to do that. I'm excited about where they're going. Also, one of our great supporters, the Social Networking Association. You can go over there, check them out. Look, the social media is exploding, all kinds of internet affiliate marketing exploding on the internet. This organization is doing some phenomenal stuff. Also, let me say that not all of our sponsors and supporters may agree with the views and opinions on here, but I wanted to let you guys know that we're having a wonderful time. Today's show is based on some conversations that I have been having with a wonderful team. And this team they're literally on a mission right now to put together a coffee cafe concept. And anytime you're at the startup phase, whether this is a ministry, a small business, brick and mortar, Main Street, doesn't matter where it's at, when you're on this quest to put something together, sometimes tensions can run high. Sometimes communication can be skewed, if you will. Anytime you're looking for financing and funding, you're putting these together and you run short. Sometimes what you end up with is you run scared, I guess, would be to do it. So as I've been communicating with this team, and this team's been communicating with me because we work tight. I work with their board of directors. 4 major things came out of conversations that I've had over the last month, but specifically over the last couple of days. And I thought, okay, this would just be great for us to really focus in on what are the 4 cornerstones for developing that dream team. And every time we do one of these on developing dream teams, developing an organization, I get people saying, well, Troy, what success have you had? And we've been building teams literally since I was 12 years old. Sales teams, marketing teams, military teams, law enforcement teams. I mean, the list goes on and on. When you look at the teams that we have created, teams that we have built, sales have run into multi-millions in volume. Earnings have been in the millions. So I'm not talking from theory. I'm talking what does it actually take to succeed in business, in ministry, nonprofit, for-profit, private, public, doesn't matter. We're honing in on just four areas. And if you can connect these 4 areas, it doesn't matter if you've ever built a team before. It doesn't matter if you're building a team now. It doesn't mean if you're a Maple Street brick and mortar building a team in multiple locations. Doesn't matter. These 4 cornerstones is what you need. Number 1, clarity. And I hone this in almost on every podcast that we do. Clarity of the message is number 1. And that's not just your public facing message. That's not the message that's out front. That's the message within the team. If your team that you're trying to build doesn't understand what your purpose is, what your vision is, and what the mission is, and those are 3 different things. If they don't understand that, if they can't hone that down into just a very short phrase, one-liner, elevator pitch, whatever you guys call it, if they don't know what you stand for, then you're not going to be able to go to 2, 3, and 4. Clarity is number one. How do you find clarity? I've honed this thing down now to where one question that you could start to ask yourself is, what problem do we solve? What is it you're trying to do? What is that one problem that your customers need? And so many times what we do is we try to clarify the message, and it's internal. You're talking about yourself. You are not the hero in the story. You're just the guide. You're the wagon master. You're whatever you call yourselves. The hero is the customer, the client. What is it that you're trying to solve for them? You guys know I use Maple Street a lot of times as that analogy, that aha moment. And when you hone in on Maple Street, you find out that the one problem they're trying to solve is a lack of community. Their whole focus is on a community setting. They don't have managers, they have community leaders. Their focus is to bring people in with the community. They bring in law enforcement. They will do collaboration with other businesses there so that everybody knows we're working together. Most of their establishments you will find in strip mall areas because they want to be part of a community. You need to hone down that message. You need to know what it is. Maybe you're looking at me saying, Troy, I don't even have a team. I'm just me. Okay, what problem are you trying to solve? What do you want to know? What do you want? When people say, Troy, what is the one problem that you solve? And it's like we sat down the other day and we were working through this. We said, look, man, people are always asking, we're the ones preaching it. What do we solve? And it's like inadequacy. That's it right there. We take a person who has obscurity, who they feel like we're not accomplishing anything. We're inadequate to the conversation. And we put them out front. We show them how to get rid of that, whether it's with their products, whether it's with their message, whether it's them personally. That's what we do. And we've honed this down. You're going to see some really cool stuff that we're popping out in 2020. But that's the key, clarity of your message. Because if you don't have it internally on the dream team that you're building, you're never going to be able to take it out there in public. Number 2, creativity. If you want to build a dream team, you can't be building a team of like-minded people. Everybody looks like drones. The 1984 commercial from Apple is a prime example. You have to have creativity on that team. HowToFascinate.com, Sally Hoghead's site. I challenge you to go over there. Go through her personality profile. Because what it is, unlike any other personality profile, what it does is it allows you to see how the world sees you. And if you're building a team, you all need to know how the world sees you so that as a team, you're coming together with each other's strengths, with each other's weaknesses, and you build upon both to build something unique. But you have to have that creativity. You want to be out of the box. Here's another question you can ask yourself. What difference are we making as a team? Not as the business now, but as the team. What is the difference you guys are trying to make? What do you want people to understand? What do you want the people on your team to understand? Because understand, if you're building the dream team up here, then little by little by little, that's going to permeate down, and you want this all to go down. Something I've watched North Point do up at Andy Stanley's church in Atlanta is they don't have systems, they have processes. What we do is we teach steps. In your creativity process, you have to have steps along the way. I'm going to be meeting tomorrow with one of the great creativity and design studios out of California, Plain Joe. Plain Joe's worked with Disney, Star Wars, all these cool things, and they're working with one of our local clients to help them not just build their dream team, but to clarify their message. Guys, I'm telling you, this is the way to do this. Clarify your message, have creativity on the team. And again, if it's just you may say, gosh, man, how do I know if I'm being creative? Hey, draw in some experts to work with you. Not all the time are they going to charge you money, but just go out there and look. Also, I would suggest that you get into podcasts, you read books, you start focusing on you. You might want to go to some events in 2020. Whatever the case is, you have to dig this deep. Number 3, and this one's a big one, and it lines up on the top 2, communication. Remember, we're not talking about the outward message. We're talking about the inward message. We're talking about building that dream team. You have to be able to communicate. And this may be the hardest to do. It may seem like it's the simplest to do. And I can guarantee you this, it is a major cornerstone in success, in creating excellence, in creating any type of relationship. This isn't just about business. I think by now you guys understand that every time we do a podcast, you can use this in your personal life. You can use it in your marriage, in your relationship with your kids. If you're not even out there building a business, but you're working for somebody else, all of this applies to you guys. If you're in a side hustle, side gig, whatever they call it these days, doesn't matter. When we get down to communication, if you don't have it correctly honed in, you've got major, major issues. You can have miscommunication, no communication, partial communication. Those are all types of communication. But you can't just have that. And here's the one that you've got to break yourself from. You need to stop just having internal communications up here. Because the questions you ask yourself, the perceptions that you make, 95, maybe 99% of the time are wrong. Let's take this out of the business section for a second. Let's take it to a relationship level. You want your kids to do what you've told them to do, but you have told them correctly how to do it. You assume that they would know. Paige gets on to me constantly when I will get snarky with the girls, and she says, honey, we have to communicate. We have to let them know what they were doing wrong, what they need to correct, why they just had that mistake happen, whatever the case is. Same thing rings true in a marriage. You're sitting there, you've had a busy day at work, and you come home and you open the door and he's yelling at you or she's yelling at you, and all you wanted, you thought as soon as you opened the door, they were just going to know you wanted a hug. Doesn't work that way. You get out of the shower, you shave, you put on aftershave, you put on the silk boxers, you jump in bed thinking, hey, she's going to know. She's just going to know this is our night. No, communicate, dadgummit. You got to communicate at every level. If you're on a team and you're frustrated, don't just send the communication to one person. Everybody needs to get it on that team. Either you're a cohesive unit, you're like the Knights of the Round Table, and everybody's ego is the same, and you guys are trying to build on the purpose and the vision and the mission, but you got a freaking ego problem. Plain and simple. I don't care how you look at it. That could be a fragile ego. It could be a giant ego. Maybe you've been hurt so daggum much that you just don't trust people. You want to start assuming what they're going to say. Oh, well, I was listening to him say this to XYZ, so he's probably going to say that to me. Oh, I heard her tell this person that they've done something wrong, so they're probably going to say that to me. Stop that crap. You need to communicate openly because you're a team. We're not now listen, I'm not talking about taking negatives down and challenges down and frustrations down. That's not what I'm talking about. Remember, this is the dream team. So everybody on this team has earned the right to be on this team. They're building trust on the team. The team could be brand new, doesn't matter. This is where you decide who really is going to be able to make it. Who's going to be setting at this circle of champions? Who's going to be helping us build upon this purpose and this vision and this mission? Communication, open, concise, truthful communication. Let me use the word truthful there for a minute. If you're not communicating everything, if you're saving some things back, no matter what the reason, a fragile ego, a prideful ego, doesn't matter. If you are not communicating everything, then here's what happens. There's going to be a crack in the foundation of trust. And people are going to start saying, well, are you trying to position yourself here? Are you trying to position yourself there? You're trying to build allies? Remember, we all have egos. We all get stressed. We all have insecurities. As a team, you've got to come together and not break those. I had a communication with somebody earlier today. I said, look, you need to understand, I come from a military background. I come from a background literally of people that worked in organized crime. I come from dealing with one percenter outlaw biker clubs and other one percenter type organizations. Trust is what holds these organizations together. Right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm not going down that path. What I'm saying is it's that trust factor. When you break that trust factor, then the whole organization cracks. Law enforcement understands this. When law enforcement gets into one of these organizations that I mentioned, what they do is they start to eat away because they know the egos are so fragile in outlaw organizations that if they can crack one, then they open those things up. Okay, we don't want that. Okay, it's like an apple looks really good on the outside. You cut it open, there's freaking worms on the inside. You want communication to be open, to be raw, to be communicative. Now, listen to me closely. When you walk away from the meeting, remember, these are the dream team. When you guys walk out of that meeting, you are one tight organization, all on the same page. And if you're on a team or you're looking to get on a team and you can't remember the next little phrase, debate it in private, stand strong in public. If you can't do that, you shouldn't be on that team. You are not prepared internally to be on that team, and you're going to be the weak link. So do yourself some favor and the team some favor and say, I need to resign. I'm not ready. And go get yourself some help and grow into it. That's how you got to work this thing out. The only way to build those dream teams is open, concise, honest communication. So let's look at the first three, and then we're going to get to the fourth one. Number one is clarity. You have to have clarity of your message. That dream team has to know. That circle of champions, those knights of the round table, that executive board, that advisory, whatever you're building, they have to have clarity of message. Number two, you got to have the creativity. You've got to be able to look at this outside of the box. How are we going to go against the status quo? How are we going to be unique? What is our one differentiation? What problem are we solving? And you create from around that. Number three, open, concise, and honest communication. And the fourth one, number four, customer experience. Listen, I don't care if you call yourselves a technology company, a restaurant company. I don't care if you're in selling mattresses, you sell milk products, you sell green products. I don't care less. Here's the one business that everyone is in. You're in the people business. You're in the hospitality business. The customer experience has to be that fourth cornerstone. And all of these have to run consistently. If you have one cornerstone that's weak, what happens to the building? It cracks, it crumbles. You don't want that. You want each of these four pillars, or four cornerstones, so your pillars can stand upon this. Because if you don't do this, if you haven't created a customer experience where they can start to trust you, then you fail. And the only way for you to build upon a great, solid customer experience is for you to have the first three cornerstones in place. If you don't have clarity, if you don't have creativity, if you don't have communication, then what type of customer experience are you going to have? Think this one through for a second. If you can't take from that dream team that you've created that's putting your companies together and hone that down to where your next level of management leadership team understands it, then every time the phone rings, every time a support ticket comes in, every time there's a challenge, the story's always going to be different. And if you take time to go out there and focus on companies who have failed, you'll find that these four cornerstones were not in place, period. Sometimes they weren't even in place when the companies have grown to do hundreds of millions of dollars in sales. And I know that seems strange, but when you look out there and you think about how many companies that we now call legacy companies, meaning they no longer exist, that just couldn't break out of this path. What happens is when it was time for them to build their dream team, when it was time for them to bring people in, the founders of these companies did not have clarity, creativity, or open communication when it came to building those teams. And because of that, trust never really lined up. Competitors were able to come in and do some things to them, and the customers never became raving fans, raving supporters, loyal. If you look at an Apple evangelist, you look at that consumer that's buying that product, very seldom do you see one that has moved back into a Microsoft DOS-based product. You don't see them flipping over to an Android phone. They built that loyalty because it's got clarity to it. You see that in Starbucks. You see that at Harley Davidson. You see that at Disney. You see that at Nike. See what I'm saying? You even see it in politics. It's very hard for somebody to flip from Democrat to Republican or Republican to Democrat because it's like, it's just the way they are. They hone their messages tight. You don't have to agree with their messages. That's the way they are. And that's what you're looking for. That's what your brain is looking for. So take these 4 things, have a phenomenal day. 4 cornerstones: clarity, creativity, communication, customer experience. And remember, this isn't just about business. These same 4 cornerstones work in a marriage, work in any relationship. If you don't have these 4 cornerstones, it's going to be tough to move this thing forward in the way you need to. Listen, stay dangerous, stay humble, and you've been listening to a voice in Main Street America.